Anthony situation. And first things first, before we get into the fine details of this conversation, I gotta say I feel bad, bro. I feel bad because only a Jew and a black guy have agreed to talk to me about this topic, and now I'm like, this is not what I wanted. I didn't want to debate a black guy over this. This is like black on black violence. So
A Jew and a black guy? Who's the Jew? Oh yeah, it was
Viva.
Viva, right? Viva. Yeah. Viva's my boy.
Yeah, that's your boy.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
That's funny.
we got the attorneys, one Jewish, one black, and all the white guys are in that talking shit about me, and that's what I really wanted here. But anyway,
Well, it might be a little more difficult to get one of those.
it's been like pulling teeth. I just know my thing is just don't talk about me behind my back. Pull up, say it to my face,
That's fair.
Yeah. Anyway,
So well, this is my first time meeting you, so
Yes.
happy to be on camera. So just to let you know, my name is Nate. I was a former police officer, prosecutor. I'm from the hood in Harlem, so I grew up. My parents, just my background, my parents were both crackheads in Harlem. Grew up in the '90s. I got out of that situation. It's just the same black experience, right? Both my parents were addicts. I moved. My grandmother took care of us. She essentially raised me. Then I went to, I dropped out of high school, got a GED, and I eventually made something of myself. I went to school, I got a job, and I became an officer, which allowed me to get my degree. I got a job, and I became an officer, which allowed me to get my degree. So I got my undergraduate degree. Then I got my law degree, and I became a prosecutor. And now I'm an attorney here online. I also was teaching at a law school for a little while. So that's my background in terms of that. And just so your crowd understands, I get shit from both sides. For instance, I'm one of the sole people on the right who are saying that George Floyd was murdered. I watched the whole trial and I said, yeah, George Floyd was absolutely murdered and Chauvin is going to jail.
wow.
That happened. I said that Ahmaud Arbery was killed unjustifiably. And I said the people who killed him were going to jail. That happened. I also said that Kyle Rittenhouse was innocent and he acted in self-defense. That happened. So a lot of people come to my channel because they don't know what I'm going to say about a case. I just look at the facts and evidence and I make my predictions based on it. And pretty much I've only gotten, I think, 2 cases wrong in the past like 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
So this was another case that I made a prediction on. And I said it's going to be pretty simple that Karmelo Anthony is going to be convicted of murder. I just thought the evidence was overwhelming. And I do think his defense attorney wasn't the best. Wasn't the best, to say the least. I think his defense may have had more to do with his conviction than the actual facts on the ground. Because I think you could make a plausible argument for a manslaughter conviction where he'd maybe get 5 years or something like that. But I think the murder conviction was just maybe more to do with bad representation than actually the facts on the ground. But he's been convicted of murder. So
Okay. So you said a lot right there, and I gotta apologize to you. I have to apologize. I was talking shit about you. Okay. I was like,
they weren't internet.
I said, Nate ain't got the heart to come talk to me. He's a pipsqueak. And here you are. I'm like, damn, he's kind of like, he's a good guy. Oh shit, fuck. I was ready to tear your head off, and I'm like, damn, he sounds like a good guy. Damn it, shit. So first things first.
I appreciate that.
I apologize. You sound like a sensible guy. Wow. Okay. Because a lot of people, like you said, Ahmaud Arbery case, I thought that was clear cut.
Yeah,
the George Floyd case, I didn't follow really closely. I was just like, this is a psyop. I'm not going to pay attention to it. I'm not going to feed into it. But you thought that was a murder? You thought
I thought that was clear cut murder based on the laws that.
But you thought that was a murder? You thought
I thought that was clear cut murder based on the laws that they have in Minnesota, which are a little kooky. I've done, I did a whole breakdown because I used to be a law school professor. So I did a whole breakdown and I said, the cop is going to go to jail for murder. No doubt about it. It's just clear cut as you can possibly be. I thought that was an easy case to call, to be honest with you.
So what about the Karmelo case? Did you think that So I think there's opinion and then there's prediction, right? So on the prediction side of things, you're like, he's going to be convicted of murder. Why did you think he would be convicted of murder?
Because so when I, as a law enforcement officer, we had to deal with self-defense a lot in terms of officers using force, because when you're a police officer, you're legally justified to use force to arrest people and things of that nature. So they really teach you on self-defense. Now, a lot of people, just so we're all on the same page, when a defendant claims self-defense, they are actually claiming we committed the underlying crime. I committed the murder. I committed the killing.
Right.
But I was legally justified in using this level of force. And then when that's raised, the prosecutor, the state, then has to prove that you didn't act lawfully within self-defense. So to prove that you didn't act lawfully within self-defense. So in looking at this case, the argument here was Karmelo Anthony used self-defense reasonably. And when you go through the 5 elements, the 5 elements of self-defense, where I wrote them down so I don't mess them up.
Okay.
To me, it just seemed clear, because there's first, I want to make sure we understand there's a difference between plain old self-defense and deadly physical force self-defense. So they're legally distinct, but they have pretty much the same elements. And I call it IIPAR, which is innocence, imminence, proportionality, avoidance, and reasonableness. And I'll just go over them real quick. Innocence is who starts the fight. Right. If you start the fight, you can't then claim self-defense. Imminence is it has to be happening right now, or you believe it's going to happen. So, for instance, you don't have to be shot. If somebody pulls out a gun and points it at you, you don't have to be shot to employ self-defense. You can stop that attack by using deadly physical force. Proportionality, and that's the way that I think we're going to have the biggest argument, is that if I slap you, you can't stab me. If I punch you, you can't shoot me. The law says it has to be proportional. You can't shoot me. The law says it has to be proportional.
Okay.
Avoidance is the next factor. And that's really, since Texas is a stand your ground state, this doesn't apply here as much, but it can, in terms of you can, let's say for stand your ground, if you do something to provoke an attack, and then you withdraw and you say, okay, I don't want to fight you, and walk around and turn your back away, and then someone comes and continues on, then you do have a duty to retreat at that point in time because you started it. But then if you retreat and then the person still comes at you, then you regain your ability for self-defense. And then the last element is reasonableness. It's not whether you believe it's reasonable, it's whether the general public, a reasonable person who is in your position, would act the same way, would believe that this is reasonable. And those two people could be wrong. I think a good example is the Karmelo Anthony case. Not the Karmelo Anthony case, I'm sorry, the Kyle Rittenhouse case, where there was a guy, Karmelo Anthony, they believed was an active shooter because he had shot 2 people. So there was a guy, his name is Gage Grosskreutz, and he pulled the gun on Karmelo Anthony. I keep saying Karmelo, on Rittenhouse. on Rittenhouse. He pulled the gun on Rittenhouse, and Rittenhouse shot him.
Okay.
And on Rittenhouse, he pulled a gun on Rittenhouse, and Rittenhouse shot him.
Okay.
And they said that was self-defense. But let's say if Grosskreutz had shot Rittenhouse, he would have been justified in his use of self-defense. So that's a situation where both sides could have a mistaken belief, but it's reasonable for both of them to believe. He believed he was an active shooter, and Rittenhouse believed that Grosskreutz was trying to kill him. Both are accurate. So reasonable. So there's never a black and white situation with this, but it's always about the facts on the ground and how they're being absorbed by the jury. And obviously the ultimate judge is the judge of the facts, which is the jury. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, let's talk about proportionality, because I think that's where the most contention is going to come in, right? And you're probably right. Like, there's law, and then there's philosophical debate, right?
Of course.
So I haven't had any pushback as far as the law is concerned with any. Like, they say that's what the law says. I'm like, I'm not going to fight what the law says. Like, that's what the law says. Like, I'm not here to judge that, right? But philosophically, I think there's room for a self-defense case, right? So
yeah, agreed.
Yeah. So, for example, right? which is why I kind of example, right? Which is why I kind of got confused on what you said, because his defense was so terrible.
Yeah, it was bad. I'm sorry. It was matter of fact, I think people don't know how bad it was. Every witness who was asked if he was acting reasonably in using self-defense said no, even the defense's witnesses. So if you're on the jury, and I'm just saying as a reasonable person, if you're on a jury, and every single person, even the defense witnesses, say, I think he overreacted. How can you then say he was acting in self-defense? Because I'm assuming all 26 or 20 of those people are reasonable, all those black kids, because don't forget they had black kids up there testifying against him. His own witnesses testifying against him, and they're all saying he's unreasonable. Then for you to come to the conclusion that he's being reasonable, I think it wouldn't have made sense. And that's where I think the defense messed up.
Well, what should the defense, what posture or what argument should they have made if not for reasonability? Is there another sort of angle that they should have taken? Is it the plea? Is it, a different charge they should have went for? Like, how should they have gone about it, in your opinion?
Well, if I was Karmelo Anthony's defense attorney, the first thing I would have done is objected to all those questions of them asking the witnesses, do they believe he acted in self-defense? I would have said, objection. You're asking for a legal conclusion, because it's not the witness's job to tell the jury if he acted himself. That's the job of the jury. So I'd say objection, calls for legal conclusion. And then if the judge allowed that question, I would have then asked those witnesses, well, tell me what's legal self-defense in Texas. Give me the elements, give me the statute, because that would show they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. And then we can run it out, right? Because now I got to destroy them. Unfortunately, I hate to destroy kids, but I say, all right, so what's your understanding of law and self-defense? Do you know the statute? Do you know this? You know that? And then when they say no, now you explain to the jury that even though this person's saying he didn't act in law of self-defense, they don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
Right.
So that's the way I would have attacked it. And then my own witnesses, I would have really strongly suggested Karmelo take the stand. All self-defense cases, it always comes down to you. Why did you do what you did? And if you put me on the stand, I need to explain to people why I felt the way I felt. Now, everybody else can feel the way they felt, but you need to hear from the person in the seat. I was sitting down. These 2 6-foot people came over to me. And I'm looking at people. Everybody's yelling and screaming. I didn't know what to do. I put my hand in my bag because I was afraid that something was going to happen. Then one of the guys touched me and I just reacted. That's a totally different story from Karmelo Anthony. Now, you can say whatever you want on cross, but that's reasonable based on what happened. And you can say, okay, he overreacted. And now, instead of getting a murder conviction, you get a manslaughter conviction. You got a 4.0 GPA, captain of the football team, captain of the track team, all this other stuff. This is a great kid who made one bad mistake. I'd rather the jury go into the back, understood going into with that than what they went in with, which is essentially this kid just stabbed somebody for no reason and that was it. Like, so you understand it? Having the jury go back there with that understanding would have, I think, led to a better outcome.
That was my thing. I was looking at, because there's no actual transcripts, right? They haven't released any of that
Not
stuff.
yet. They haven't released it yet.
Yeah. And from what I saw, I'm like, did the defense object to anything? Like, there's no objective pushback. Like, I
didn't know what the hell was going on.
She's supposed to throw objection in there somewhere, even if it's going to get overruled. Like, just to slow things down.
Yeah, exactly. So don't flow. Yeah, exactly. So don't flow. Matter of fact, you just throw objections in there sometimes just to mess up. Because sometimes they'll just have to think about and then you mess up the flow, and the witness will be messed up and everything. But it seemed like, and a lot of times, to be fair, in these small towns, all the attorneys know each other.
Right.
Like when I was a DA, I knew all the defense attorneys. I knew all the hot ones. I knew all the old guys who've been doing it for 50 years who come and want to talk to you. So you get a relationship with these people. And I think sometimes that's a bad thing because you get too familiar. And I think, unfortunately, this attorney may have just been too familiar with everybody and thinking, hey, I'm just going through the process, instead of being more of an advocate for his client, understanding the nature of this particular case. Yeah.
I was like, man, I'm pretty sure I could have defended Karmelo Anthony better. I'd have been up there like my cousin Vinny, but it would have been better than whatever the hell he was doing.
Yeah.
So, all right. So let me ask you this. Some people think that the defense threw the case to make the appeal better because he figured he was going to lose the case anyway. Is there any plausible? That sound like some internet conspiracy theory bullshit.
To be honest with you, that is internet conspiracy bullshit, because don't forget too, there's what they call ineffective assistance of counsel. There are some appealable issues. And I always say this, appeals are for losers, but I think Karmelo Anthony's appeal is better than most.
Okay.
I think he has a better than most. But again, if you're practicing, because I'm not sure Texas rules of evidence, they may allow you to ask lay witnesses opinionated questions, which would be a unique thing, because I'm from New York, I have federal stuff. No one ever does that, but Texas may be unique in that, but I don't believe so, because it just usually a lay witness, and so we can understand terminology. A lay witness is a witness who, when you go on the stand, you talk about what you saw, what you heard, things that you directly observed.
Okay.
Right? That's a lay witness, right? So I was there, I saw the knife, I saw the gun, I saw him here, I saw him here. You're talking about your experiences, but you can't give opinions.
Okay.
So you can't say, it's my opinion has happened. They'll say objection, calls for opinion, blah, blah, blah. But if you're an expert witness and not a lay witness, an expert witness is there to give their opinion. Here's my opinion on how this works. Here's my opinion on that works. And that's to educate the jury. Educate the jury, not on the actual facts of the case, but as a legal opinion on, let's say, like a healthcare concern, like in a George Floyd case, when they were talking about how did the mechanism of his death happen, and you had the expert witnesses. So based on your opinion, do you think this is the cause of death? Yes, that type of thing. Right. So in this particular case, the lay witnesses, the people who are there to say what they saw, what they heard, were giving legal opinions about the outcome of the case. And that's generally a big no-no. That's why I said I think his opinion would be better than most. But again, it all depends on the appeals court down there in Texas.
Okay, that makes sense. So, all right, let's deal with the discrepancy of the proportionality, right? So you kind of, you spoke two different ways, right? You said in one way it was murder, but if you put up a defense, it was manslaughter, right? It could be deemed as manslaughter. Yeah. And I think you already explained why you believe it could have been manslaughter, given a better defense, et cetera, right?
Yes. Well, but on that particular point between the murder and manslaughter, and this is in Texas, because I look. Texas, because I looked this up. There are two ways to get to manslaughter. Okay. Even though they got murder, there are two ways to get to manslaughter. One, you get the charge of manslaughter. In other words, you send a jury in the back and say, is it murder or is it manslaughter? And I think that's where the arguments would have helped. But there's a second way to get to manslaughter, and that's through what's known as imperfect self-defense. So perfect self-defense is exactly what it is. You defended yourself, you checked all the boxes, you're good to go, you didn't commit a crime. That's perfect self-defense. Imperfect self-defense is exactly what happened in this case. Somebody didn't reasonably believe that, somebody acted disproportionately. Right. Somebody pushed you, you stabbed them. Somebody did something. So you were acting in self-defense, which I believe Karmelo Anthony was. When somebody grabs you, you can respond to that grab with a push. You can respond to a slap with a slap. So he is acting in self-defense. Right. But imperfect self-defense says, well, if you overreact to it, then we'll convict you of murder, but your sentencing will only be manslaughter. So they kind of give you two bites at the apple. And I'm assuming, but their lawyer didn't. All right. So during the trial, he tried to argue for self-defense, and then like that last, he fell on the knife, like, Karmelo, the Metcalf fell on the knife. That was like so stupid. But then in the sentencing phase, that's where the argument goes now to imperfect self-defense. Hey, you convicted him already, but he made a mistake. This is obvious a mistake. Why would a kid who has a 4.0 GPA, who's got all these college offers, who's got all these scholarship offers, who has a whole life, in any other situation, this is one of the top tier kids. Why would this kid do this? And even if he did, why would he do this randomly? Obviously, he acted irrationally in that moment. Don't destroy his life. He's 17. He didn't, he didn't do it in a perfect way. Right. It was imperfect, but we can mitigate this into, let's say, a manslaughter. So don't ruin this kid's life because he was a star. He made a mistake. And I think that's where the lawyers failed him, because they didn't make that argument in sentencing. They put his mom on, she cried, and that was it. That was ridiculous. You need to make the jury understand that this isn't some gangbanger. That this isn't some gangbanger.
Right.
This was a good kid and who made a mistake. And that turns a 35-year sentence into maybe a 5 to 7 year sentence.
Yeah. Okay, so the imperfect defense. That's so a lot of the arguments I've been having with people, I'm going based upon, and maybe you can give me a legal term for this, right? Because something happens with people's memory, right? So a witness testifies in a police report, that's immediately after the event. Then later on, the memory is, especially a year later, the memory's not the same. Is there a legal term for that? Or is that more of a psychological term?
Where you're talking about at the beginning? Well, generally, you're talking about, I think, present sense impressions, where someone's at the scene is telling the police, this is what happened.
Yes.
And then a year later, they remember less details,
right?
Things of that nature, right? So that's what we're talking about.
So what's called now, present what?
Well, it's actually for hearsay, but it's called a present sense impression, where we're right there at the scene. You're telling the police exactly what happened.
Right.
Like, this is what happened. This is what I saw.
Right.
But that happens generally a lot with witnesses. And to be honest, eyewitnesses are generally the worst type of evidence you can put forward, even though we put a lot of stock into it. Eyewitnesses, there's many case studies that show that you could put 5 people in a room, have something happen, and all 5 will come up with stories that are inconsistent, that don't meet you, that's just totally different, right?
Right.
But these are studies that have been done years over years. So the longer away from the event, the more. But what you look for, what the jury looks for, and what everybody looks for, is consistencies over the entire group.
Right.
And that's what I think failed. That's where I think Karmelo Anthony's lawyer failed. You brought up my cousin Vinny. He was able to poke holes in every individual witness. So on a grand scheme, you're like, oh, they're all inconsistent on the fundamental piece of, was the car even there?
Okay.
Here, the witnesses were all consistent in one thing and one thing alone, that they believed he acted unreasonably.
Right.
And when we're talking about self-defense, those 5 elements I was talking about earlier, Karmelo Anthony would have had to check every one. He has the win on every element.
Right.
But if you have every single witness, even his witnesses saying he failed on reasonableness, then I'm just saying you have every single witness, even his witnesses saying he failed on reasonableness, then I'm just saying you yourself, if you're on a jury, I don't know what other conclusion you can come to, because everyone else who you believe is reasonable, from the coaches to the black teens, are saying he's acting unreasonably. So I think that killed his case was done at that moment.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I totally agree with that. It's hard to, and then the defense rested after, it was like they went Saturday and then Monday and then rested. I'm like, wait, y'all done already? I'm like, what?
Yeah, I don't know, because now the family's saying, oh, they told us to hire this white attorney and we hired this white. Don't get me wrong. I understand we have a race issue here in this country. My next video, I'm calling out Officer Tatum, because he now and he's going to hate me for this, but I'm going to do it. So when they were talking about the all white jury, and then he goes on and does his show. Oh my God, all white jury, this is all bullshit. They say white people can't judge black people. But then in the Amber Geiger case, when the white cop, and they had black people on the jury, he was like, oh, I'm concerned that they got black people on the jury. I'm like, you're a racist fucking hypocrite against black. You're a racist fucking hypocrite against black people, right? You're a racist hypocrite because when it's a white person, you're concerned about black people on the jury, but then with a black person, you're not concerned about white people on the jury. I'm consistent. I don't care what your race is. I don't care what that. I've been in cases where we've challenged the defendant for kicking out all the white people of the jury, and I've been in cases where we challenged the defendant for kicking out all the black people of the jury. It happens, right? Because if you're a defense attorney, that's what you want. If I'm the defense attorney, I want all black people on the jury. But sometimes it just doesn't work that way. So what I like to do is, if we can, first I play it out without race. And when I played this case out, without race, I think most people will come to the conclusion this is manslaughter. And I think but I think if you play this case out based on the way the defense laid this case out, I don't see how you don't come to murder. Unfortunately, I think the murder conviction was unfortunately a collateral situation because his defense was just so bad.
Yeah,
so bad.
So since you bring up race, let's talk about that, because it is my impression that the only reason why this case has become national is because of race. Do you agree with that?
100%. Yeah, no doubt about it.
Okay. All right. Because
no doubt, but I do want to mention so there's an argument with this other guy, and he was saying that black people, Lamar even saying that too. This is a black lynching or whatever. Okay. And they were saying that no black person can use self-defense in America, and that when black people defend themselves, that they're always convicted of murder by white people. So, I pulled up all the cases, and the cases that I've covered. Kenneth Walker from Breonna Taylor. He shot a cop coming through the door. Do you know he was found? He could not be charged because he could not be charged. He said he was using self-defense.
Yeah.
They tried to charge him. And they dropped all criminal charges. They can never charge him again. And he shot a cop with a lawful warrant.
Yeah.
Self-defense. Andrew Coffey from Florida. He had a warrant. The SWAT team came in, and he's shooting up the SWAT team, right? Because he didn't know who was coming through the door. He's shooting up the SWAT team. They charged him with murder. They charged him with murder. Not guilty on all counts except for one. Guilty on all counts except for one. He was a felon in possession of a illegal gun. So they got him on the illegal gun charge.
Okay.
Steven Spencer. He's another one. Fatally shot a white man outside a bar because the guy was beating him up. Not guilty. All white jury. So in this case after case after case after case of black people being released by all white juries, being found not guilty. But I think we have this in the Karmelo Anthony case. I think people just want to see what they want to see, but really see the actual events that actually happen. Someone like me who's always into these cases, reading through these cases, I see it. But I think just a lot of black people who are worse than Karmelo Anthony who've gotten off with, and again, like I point people, Andrew Coffey IV, look up that case. He was a felon. The SWAT team, they were going after him. He shot a whole bunch of cops, and they said he was acting in self-defense.
Wow.
One more, and he was black, and he shot
in what state?
Cops. It's Florida. I can put
in Florida.
Damn,
that's tough to win a case like that in Florida.
But he won. He won.
Right.
He won. Self-defense. So but that's I always say this. That's the difference between having a good or fucking great lawyer and having Karmelo Anthony's lawyer. Because if Karmelo Anthony had his lawyers, we may be talking about something different. But he had his lawyers, and his lawyers, unfortunately, were bad.
Okay, so let's role play, right? You're the prosecution. Okay. I'm the defense, right? First of all, his own brother said he initiated physical contact.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
The witnesses also said Austin Metcalf initiated physical contact.
Correct. Agreed.
Austin Metcalf initiated physical contact.
Correct. Agreed.
Austin Metcalf is a humongous kid compared
6'1", 210 pounds to what, 5'8", 140, 150 or something.
Yeah.
No, actually about 160 because he was playing a football team. Yeah, captain of the football team by that.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So there is potentially a defense to make that he was scared for his life. Okay. Also, a lot of arguments people made was he wasn't supposed to be under the tent. right? He
Okay.
came to the intent and he was trespassing.
Okay.
But according to one of the witnesses, Eddie Paris or Paras,
Mm-hmm.
Paras is probably how it's pronounced, Hispanic kid, he said he called him over.
Mm-hmm.
And Carmelo Anthony had been sitting there for a few minutes, according to that's consistent across all witnesses, that he had been sitting
Yes.
there for a few minutes before Austin met. Well, actually, it was his brother Hunter who said something, and then Austin escalated. So, how am I doing so far?
Yeah, I'm agreeing with everything you said.
So, that's the part where I don't understand why I'm getting so much pushback from the white contingent. Unfortunately, this thing has turned into race.
Yeah.
Where they're like, they're just making up stuff like, oh, he wasn't supposed to be there. I'm like, but his friend or an associate invited him over.
My fault. I'm over here talking on mute. Yes. I said, just give me 1 second. All right. I'm back. I'm sharing it. I was talking on mute. Let me, yeah, I had to check a text. I ain't want my text be all on the internet. You feel me? Mom was proud. My mother or my brother or my cousin or my next door neighbor could have been saying, "Hey, man, can you go get the key to the house? It's under the front door mat." You feel me? And I didn't want you guys to know where the extra key was. You mess around and be in the house, B&E, or a burglary. Okay. So I'm gonna just add the link there in case anybody wanna join once this is over. Hold on. And wanna add any input. You dig? Yeah, here's the link right there. All right, let's get back to it. So far, it's a friendly conversation. It's centered on the facts, which I like. I don't like these conversations be centered on emotions. Okay, yeah, it goes nowhere. So both of these brothers is level-headed. Nobody's hostile. Nobody's gaslighting, bad faith questions, bad faith arguments. So far, everybody, just dealing with the facts of the case. It's a good conversation, I believe, so far. Without further ado, let's get back to it.
Like, oh, he wasn't supposed to be there. I'm like, but his friend or an associate invited him over. Things were peaceful until it got escalated. You know, the guy was bigger than him. Here's what I want. At the very least, to have an honest conversation, I want somebody to say, yeah, I think there is a potential way to argue for self-defense, even if it's imperfect self-defense, like you brought up.
Well, I want to be legally accurate.
Okay.
So I think you're wrong in your original premise.
Okay.
It's not that you can make an argument for self-defense. I think legally, Karmelo Anthony was acting in self-defense.
Okay.
I want to make that very clear.
Wow.
He was touched, right? He was pushed.
Okay.
He was touched. At that time, that's an assault. So he was being assaulted at that time. Now, now there's assault harm where I pull out a gun and you're scared. That's assault harm. And then assault fear. And then there's assault harm where if I touch you, that's assault harm.
Okay.
So he's being touched. Now, we're not talking about, so you have that first element of both. You have he's innocent, so he's being the provocation. And then you have the second element, imminence, right? He's being touched. But now we get to that third pesky element, which is proportionality. Is a touch worth a knife strike? Right. Now, I think the issue that people get caught up here is that you don't just look at that event in isolation. You have to look at the whole situation. As a black man, you can't tell me you haven't been at a cookout at a park where they put out blankets and tents and everything and chill, you barbecuing up and fucking cops come here and smoke you like a mug, right? I'm from Harlem. We do it all the time, right? Every barbecue, right? We barbecue and everything. But let's say you put a blanket out, you chilling, and lays on your blanket,
right?
And then you say, "Hey, blanket.
Yeah.
You're at a public park, right?" And he's like, "Hey, there's a park for everybody, right?" You tell that person 15 times to get off your blanket. You got your kids there,
right?
And then you go put your hand on that person and say, "Listen, I'm going to physically remove you off my blanket."
Right?
Are you telling me that a normal black person is just going to just let that guy slam? Like, let's keep it real. Let's keep it real.
Nah, we putting hands and feet on him.
Right? Now, should that person be able to shoot you now or kill you because you're getting them off your blanket? No, right?
No.
That doesn't make any sense.
No.
But I'm saying in the real world, we know what's up.
Right.
But in this particular case, Karmelo Anthony was asked 15 times before this thing happened to leave. That's what all the witnesses. And I want to make it hit up to 15 times. So it could be 10, it could be whatever, but it was a whole bunch.
Right. But he was asked to leave.
There was a whole bunch of things. And like you're saying, the two kids come now when you're talking about proportionality, in terms of size. Yes, you had these kids that are bigger, but then you also have at a school track meet. Like people are, all right, so first let's talk about the knife in context with the event.
Okay.
We have a knife. There's no school that I know that's going to allow you to bring a knife to school or a gun to school, especially at school events. So you're on school property with the knife. Now, the knife may be legal if you're on a street corner or if you're walking up and down the street. But nobody can reasonably say a knife is legal in a school event or at a school which they were at, right?
Right.
So you have
the track meet wasn't at a school.
It was at the school thing, right? It was that.
I thought it wasn't at the school.
I
thought it was a different event. It is a school event. Yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
All right. Yeah, school event. Yeah.
So I would also say time, place, and manner also matters. If you are in a courthouse, you can have a legal gun, but you can't take it into the courthouse. You can't take a legal gun into a school. You can't take a legal knife into a school. So I think all those play into the analysis, right?
Right.
You're at a school event. You have teachers around. You're under a tent. It's raining. You have all these people, teachers, this. Is it reasonable for you to have a knife in that situation? And is it reasonable for you to respond to this particular push by a bigger kid with deadly physical force? And I usually say this, let's take it from this school event at this track meet to a cafeteria at the school.
Yeah.
Austin Metcalf could have been, hey, get off my table, and pushed him. He stabs him.
Right.
Will we be even talking about this in the same manner? If you move from the track to a cafeteria, I don't think anyone would say that stabbing would be reasonable.
Right.
But it seems like since it's now on a track meet where all the kids are at, we're saying it may be reasonable. But again, I want to make it very clear. There's a difference between self-defense, physical force, which I think Austin Metcalf was 100%, not Austin Metcalf. I believe Karmelo Anthony was 100% justified in using self-defense to repel the physical force that was used against him.
Right.
But I think he used too much by going to the knife and using deadly physical force, because you can only use deadly physical force to respond to imminent deadly physical force.
Interesting. Okay. All right. That totally makes sense. I agree with all that, by the way. I agree with all of that, of all of what you said.
So you called me up here just to agree with everything.
But I'm back on the analogy.
Sure,
right?
sure.
So when you brought up the park analogy, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is a private situation, right?
No, I said a public park. A public park.
But it is our private event at a public park, right?
No. Like I'm talking about, you're going to a park and you're having a private event. At a park.
Me and my homies, we're having a cookout.
Yeah, you're having a cookout, but it's a public park.
It's a public park, right?
Correct.
But that blanket is mine.
Yes.
That's private property. That blanket he sat on is mine.
It's on top of public property.
But the blanket is private.
The blanket is yours. That's correct.
And according to the law, that can be implicated as well, because the blanket is private property.
The blanket is yours. It's your blanket.
Yeah. So if you sit on my private property, it's a little bit different than sitting on, let's say, a bench in the park, right?
I would say so, yes.
Okay, cool. So my other pushback is these are adults versus children.
Correct.
Right. So adults may handle a certain situation different than how children should be advised to be handle situations. Right. Now, personally, so when we spoke about the cookout situation in the park, we spoke about it objectively. Subjectively, I'm calling the cops. I'm not fighting nobody. Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm gonna be like, hello, officer. Yeah, there's this nigger here, and he's. That's personally what I'm gonna do, right? So there's objectively what we suspect might happen, and then there's what we would do in that situation, right? Mm-hmm. So subjectively, that's what I would do in that situation. Like, I'm not sitting up here fighting with some stranger, even if he was small, like even if it's some little dude, like I'm just not wasting my energy. I'm 45 years old. I'm not wasting my energy fighting people. You're going to jail. Okay.
I would just ask you this though.
Yeah.
If you're in the hood, most people aren't saying that though. Most people from the hood aren't saying what you just said.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Objectively speaking, if you in the hood, that's not happening. You know, the dude on the blanket is. The children need to be taught to go and say, hey, I'm going to get an adult. I'm going to get a teacher. I'm going to get a police officer. This kid is over here invading our space. Instead of taking matters into your own hands. When I went to school, that's what we were taught. You don't take matters into your own hands. If you're around a stranger, go get an adult. Correct. So now we're like in this philosophical part of the discussion. And that's the part where I've been having disagreements with a lot of the white contingent, because they're like, well, he took matters into his own hands. I'm like, but is that what we're supposed to be teaching people, how to handle situations?
You're 1,000% correct. I don't disagree with anything you're saying, but I've already I feel like I've already conceded the point.
Yeah,
that Karmelo Anthony was acting in self-defense.
You did,
because I think a lot of people are going to be shocked that I'm saying that.
They are.
It's true.
Yeah,
he was acting in self. When the guy put his hands on him, he's at that moment. If he punches the guy, if he kicks the guy, I don't think anybody would have a problem with him saying he's acting in self-defense.
Right.
So even with your analogy, I would still concede the point that Karmelo Anthony, at the time he was touched and he was responding, he was acting in self-defense.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. So fuck. Damn. All right. So you're just a logical human being, and this is not going according to plan.
No, I'm just giving it to you, just like I give it to. That's why I kept wondering. Like, you got to talk to this guy. Talk to this guy. He's gonna choose. I'm like, okay, I'll speak to him. I don't mind speaking to anybody about it.
Right.
Because I think when you kind of lay everything out, it's a couple of things I do want to make very clear.
Okay.
I think the 35 years is ridiculously long. I honestly think, even though one kid lost his life, and I do feel for that, I do think it's ridiculously long. But I don't blame the jury,
because they put on such a bad defense.
Right.
And when the last thing the jury hears is them asking your friend, hey, do you think he acted in self-defense? Nah, I think he was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
What else could they do? What else?
Right.
And it's not like they put out anybody to, like, at a point you got to put the kid on and say, hey, you got to tell them something, because if they're going to sit, they're sitting there watching you stone face near your attorney. And let's just be honest with you. Generally, when you see black kids, like even like I make fun of Tatum and black kids, because whenever they see black kids, they call them scholars, and there's always this
white kids.
No, when they see black kids, they call them scholars, because they always say that they're dangerous, they're violent,
oh, okay.
this, they're that. And that's something, as an attorney, I know that if I have white people, Asian, because people are saying it's all my jury, which is not, white people, Asian people, and Indian people, who all have this same mindset about black people being violent and extremists and all that stuff. My job as a defense attorney is to make sure that even if you think that about other black people, I have a 4.0 GPA, captain of the football team, captain of the track team, and got 2 jobs. This is not that kid.
Right.
This is not that kid. But they never made that argument. They never think about that.
That's crazy.
They never made that argument.
That is insane. So what I'm surprised about right now is that you're saying that he was acting in self-defense. And
yes,
I think you're going to get a lot of pushback for saying that.
But it's true, though. He was acting in self-defense, but the issue was he was acting disproportionately. He responded to a simple assault with deadly physical force.
Right.
And that's a murder charge.
Right.
That just is. And it's like he had the right to act in self-defense. He just went too far. That's the problem. And that's what gets you murdered. It's unfortunate. Now, I think you could have made, and I think the sudden passion argument may have been even better here, where you can say, hey, you're being surrounded by a whole bunch of people. You're being told to leave. It's raining outside, thunderstorms, all this stuff. You're a 4.0 GPA. Somebody touches you and you just respond in a heat of passion, right?
Mm-hmm.
That now makes it manslaughter. So I could have. And as we they all reasonable to be, but again, then gangbanger and all this other shit, then you as the attorney have to explain to them, this is an upper middle class white kid. He's upper middle class black kid. He's just as white as the other kid, Metcalf. Right? Matter of fact, he's closer. Think about this. Karmelo Anthony is it's Metcalf than he is to a regular kid in Harlem or a regular kid in the hood. Right? He's closer to, but that's what you got to sell.
I think Metcalf is closer to the kid in Harlem than Karmelo is, because Metcalf coming from a broken home with her, and and they're not together. Yeah.
But now it's flipped.
Right.
Because perception is reality. It's flipped.
Right. Damn. So here we are. Everything's gotten heated, and you got the people like Officer Tatum making all these videos, et cetera, et cetera. I hate to ask you this question, but why do you think so many people are doing that? Like, why do you think people are looking at this case and many other cases? You think it's just grifting? Should we just nominate them for Grifter of the Year at the Grifties?
Well,
is it clicks? Is it bias?
I think when you analyze a case like this, like because you don't know. To be honest with you, I'm so happy with my fans, because a lot of them follow me, even though I upset them to no end. Because you don't know how hard it was to tell all those motherfuckers Derek Chauvin is a fucking murderer. Period. What Ben Shapiro saying is nonsense. Ahmaud Arbery is going, his murder. The people who killed him are going to be convicted. Like, it's very, and even with Ashley Babbitt. Ashley Babbitt's conviction, she was shot. Her shooting was justified. And I'm telling a whole bunch of people who are Trump supporters that. But you know what? I have a whole video on it. But the one thing I will say is that they always stick with me, because you know what they say? They say, even though we disagree with you, you're reasoned, you're factual, and I can see where you're coming from. And that's all I ask. But I think
that's all I ask too. So I'm thinking with a name like Unbiased, that people would take that name on face value. Like me, and I call myself the can man. Anybody can get it, but somehow people translate that to mean anybody but them. I say I'm unbiased. That's my name. I go by the name. You would think that you would take that name seriously. Okay, this guy gonna speak from a fair angle every chance he get. But people look at the name unbiased, it's just a name, and I'm not unbiased. I'm biased when it comes to certain people. No, I'm literally unbiased. And same thing. I expect people to respect that.
In this particular instance, you have the rage baiters who see black, who see white, and then just say, okay, I'm going to take one side based on, because again, a lot of people who come to these channels expect the narrative, right?
Right.
And I don't want to push a narrative. I just want to push the facts. And I think that's the problem. Like look at Officer Tatum. I can tell you what he's going to say about a case before anything happens, right? I can tell you before any facts come out. I know what his position is going to be. And the same thing with the people on the left. I know what their positions are going to be.
Right.
But when the facts come out, it's us trying to sift through them and say, okay, this is the more likely outcome based on the facts. And that's why I have like a 90% rating in calling these cases, because strip away all of that. Here are the natural facts. And the jury has to strip away all that and look at the natural facts.
When you said it was going to be murdered, Karmelo was going to be convicted for murder. Was that last year, or was it when the trial was happening?
All right. So I initially, before I got all the details and I just read the police reports, I said this is going to be a murder because the self-defense argument just didn't work. It just didn't work. Then I found out the type of student he was. Then I found out all this other stuff. And then I'm like, okay, you could make a plausible self-defense argument, but you would have to still concede that this was unreasonable. So I was saying his best argument would be for a manslaughter, which he got. He got a manslaughter charge, and his best argument would be for imperfect self-defense if he gets convicted of murder even. But it just seems like they got the win for the manslaughter charge, but they didn't argue this could be manslaughter. Like, I don't think there's a more perfect case to argue manslaughter for a 4.0 dual captain,
no record.
This is the perfect kid to argue. Yeah, this was a lapse in judgment for one moment, not a murder.
Right.
But I can't argue it for him. His lawyers got to argue that, and they didn't. I don't know why.
So there's two things we're saying here. We're saying that he's going to be convicted for murder, has been.
Yes.
But Nate's also saying he doesn't think this is a murder.
I don't think if I was on the jury, I would be saying manslaughter. He's got to go to jail for the homicide, manslaughter, voluntary manslaughter. We're talking about maybe between 5 to 15 years or something like that. That's what I'm talking. But if you're asking me based on from what I've been reading from the trial and all the facts that have come out, do I believe that based on what happened in that courtroom, was that proving murder? Yes, that was proving murder.
Yes.
And unfortunately, there was no rebuttal to that murder charge.
Right.
And I think the rebuttals was missing. But I don't think anybody could blame that jury for coming out with that verdict based on the information they had at hand. And specifically, they were trying to get off on the murder. But one thing that happened in that trial that I thought was definitely going to make it an easy murder call was the fact of their star witness. When he was on the stand, he said, "Yeah, I saw him. He was being surrounded by all the people." Essentially, he was saying Karmelo Anthony is going to be jumped.
Right.
Then they played the video, and they said, "Well, where are you at in the video? There you are. Well, you were looking over here, so you didn't see what happened." The witness who said that Karmelo was being jumped, who said all this, said, "Okay, you got me.
Right.
I didn't see it. It happened behind me." And then the prosecutor being smart, because now you got him all, caught in a lie. So do you believe he acted in self-defense? No, I don't believe it. That's the defense's witness. Right?
Yeah.
He's a better witness for the prosecutor.
Yeah, that's bad. That was bad.
You should in the defense. And then you don't put Karmelo Anthony to tell you how much fear I was in. What was I thinking? It was raining. Like all that emotion. I'd have had him crying on the stand. Look what they did to Kyle Rittenhouse. Kyle Rittenhouse is up there crying like not guilty, right? Yeah. That's what you put him on the stand for.
Right.
I want him crying. I want all the emotion. I want you to tell how you felt everything. Because you're going to get somebody on that jury that says, this is a 4.0 GP. This is not a gang. This is a good kid who made a bad mistake. Let's not give him 35 years.
Yeah.
Let's give him something more sensible.
What about the people who saw the video and they saw something different than what was said in the courtroom?
Well,
Did you see those video? Those. Go ahead, speak on it.
I have something for you. I don't know if I can share my screen.
Absolutely.
But
let me give you.
So Karmelo Anthony's minister, the spokesman, saw the video that we're talking about, and the video. And there's another one. Her name is Neek at Night. She was in the courtroom every single day, and she saw the video too.
Okay.
So now these two people are pro Karmelo Anthony people. These are not people who are who want to see Karmelo get off. I've watched a whole bunch of her videos. I watched a whole bunch of his videos. So I'm going to play the parts in this video where they talk about this precise moment of Karmelo Anthony, whether he was jumped or not. And I'll just let you hear what they say. You know what? I could send you the link. If
you can play it. You can share, or you can send me the link. Whatever's easier.
Let me see. I'm trying to see where to share. You know what? I'll put the link in the chat because I can't even see where to share at.
Yeah, put it in. Put it in the chat.
I'll give you the timestamp link right now. So it's just timestamped at the particular point.
All right.
And you'll see exactly what they say about the video.
You won't be able to hear it.
It's cool.
But I'll play it and let you know how much of it should we play.
You should play it until after they both say exactly what they heard. You'll hear it when they move on to the next topic.
I got you.
It should be starting at the 56 mark.
Yep. All right, let me see. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1.
See him getting jumped. I couldn't see that. So I was wondering if you guys saw something different.
No. It's not. I didn't see that with that video. No. I didn't see him getting jumped. Oh, you know what I mean? Like I saw movement over there. I saw that there was multiple people around him, but I didn't see he was getting, you know what I mean, like the altercation. No.
Oh, okay. If you guys have any questions.
Okay.
So yeah, you could.
Yep.
Now that's both of the people who are in the court. Well, one person was in the courtroom. He actually saw the video with the family. Both of those people saw that video. Both those people are Karmelo Anthony
defenders,
supporters, right?
Yeah.
One, the spokesman and her.
Right.
And what did they both say? They didn't see what all these other people are saying. That's it.
Yeah. Well, what I saw was what they said and what other witnesses said that I didn't hear brought up in the courtroom was that he was surrounded. Like that seems to be the consensus, that there were multiple people surrounding Karmelo. And I think when you make that type of situation or make that apparent, you're like, wait a second, hold on here. This that is also lends into the chance that he was fearful.
But see, this is now in law, when you're making that argument, this is when you can't jump the shark.
Okay.
You could say he was surrounded. That goes to his subjective fear. I'm feared because I'm surrounded.
Right.
But saying he was jumped.
Oh, no.
Then what happens is people are now going to understand saying he was jumped on for the defense. Well, here's the tape.
Right.
Show me where he was jumped.
Right.
He was surrounded. He had no injuries, right? He wasn't beat up or anything like that.
Yeah.
So, but now you've turned a possible win to, hey, he was surrounded, that made him scared, fearful, to now it's just a straight out lie.
Right. Yeah, no, I would have stopped that. No, I would have stopped that surrounded.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Jumped.
Yeah, I don't know why people added that.
But you see how that could destroy your case.
Absolutely.
You jump. Oh, he wasn't jumped at all. Oh, okay. Well, that's a lie. So now, even if you do go to the move that he was surrounded, that takes all of that air out of that word. Where if you just start with he was surrounded, then you're good.
Right.
Like going into he had to be physically jumped and all that, no injuries and all that stuff. It just, again, the defense teams, they got an issue. I would never hire that attorney if it was me, but they got an issue. They got issues. But when am I saying anything that doesn't make any sense? Am I saying anything that doesn't equate with the facts? Like They told me you're supposed to come up here and kill me because you're one of the best debaters online. As I've been hearing, be careful, be careful, be careful. But tell me where I'm wrong. I'm you know, I don't know.
I thought I was gonna get. I thought you was about to come in here with some Officer Tatum type stuff, and I was like, wait. And then you get it.
Okay, so the dude is embarrassed. The dude with the dreads on the right is embarrassed because family. I'm trying to tell you, man, that's not how you debate. That's not. See, a lot of us are prepared to debate a white T supremacist all the time. It's a black racial dynamic. You're expecting to debate a white T supremacist, somebody like himself, probably like himself. Don't care about facts, sticking with their opinion, not going to concede on certain arguments, just going to just argue with their emotions. So I've been told you guys, I said, yo, y'all being gaslit by white T supremacists. I said, yo, that's not the average person out here. But people listen to what they want to listen to. There's other people out there, white and other non-FBAs, who are not making the white T supremacist argument about the case. But we only hear what we want to hear. So now he didn't prepare an argument for Jason Tatum, which is Officer Tatum, Jason basketball, and Officer Tatum. And I'm telling you, Officer Tatum is a gaslighter. Man, that dude don't give a damn about Karmelo Anthony, Trayvon Martin. Man, that dude, Officer Tatum, is a straight coon. He flip flops. He's trying to get white T acknowledgement. When that's not working, he try to be pro black. You know, like Candace Owens. And then but with the minute that door cracks open for white T, he's back over there. Okay? That's Officer Tatum. That's the average coon. They only come back to the pro black when they believe the hustle on the white T side ain't working. So then here they go back on the black side temporarily until a window of opportunity can open back up on the white T side and they're back over there. Like that's what the coon is. The coon don't care about black support. They want white T support. But he just confessed that he was preparing for the most outrageous goofball argument out there, which is the white T supremacist argument. He was preparing for that. He got somebody reasonable like myself. Like, nah, I don't care about emotions. Like, this is where I stand based on the facts, and I'm ready to argue the facts. Oh, I thought you was the Officer Tatum guy. That was horrible. So that means you didn't do no research. You just blindly accept anybody come on. And that's what we don't do.
Here and you're like, well, he's got a case of self-defense. I'm like, damn, this is not going to make good TV. Two black
I think it
dudes.
does because what it does, it shows that.
Yeah, but he look, he about to sit up. Look. You can tell he is totally uncomfortable. The black dude on the top left. Look.
Be careful, but tell me where I'm wrong. I'm.
Now look, he gonna concede, and then he gonna straighten his seat out. What?
You know, I don't know.
I thought I was gonna get. I thought you was about to come in here with some Officer Tatum type stuff, and I was like,
no research.
And then you get in here and you're like, well, he's got a case of self-defense. I'm like, damn, this is not going to make good TV. Two black
I think
dudes.
it does because what it does, it shows that we are being reasonable.
Yeah.
With the fact.
That's the ultimate sign of I'm not comfortable. I'm a guy who loves to research, study like body language, stuff like that. Yeah, that adjustment in his seat is to show I'm not comfortable. I don't feel like I'm in charge. I feel like I'm getting schooled. You feel me? Yeah, Charles Holman, definitely great conversation, observation. This was one of those ones, and I try to bring content like that, like where it's objective, not too many emotions. But then I bring the other side too, because I want y'all to get all angles. I don't want to appeal to just one side, be biased. So I was playing I played Jason Black's position. I played, which he really like. If you listen, this is what I want y'all to do. when y'all hear these people who are arguing for Carmelo's innocence, I want y'all to listen for a couple things. Listen to the facts. Listen to them explain the facts. They don't. You got to listen what's not being said, and you got to listen what's being said. These guys who believe he's innocent, when they talk about the case, they do not review the facts. They talk about things we agree with. They talk about, oh, it's racial bias. We agree. Oh man, the sentence was hard. We agree. Oh, where's the manslaughter charge? We agree. So it's like, well, name something where we disagree at. Because so far you named everything where we agree at, right? It's because they really don't disagree. Like they also believe what we believe. They're just gaslighting you guys, man. They're gaslighting you guys. Talk about the facts now. Talk about how the evidence supports an acquittal, an innocent man. And they don't. They don't talk about those facts. They talk about everything else, but they don't bring up the facts of the case. So they'll go that route. Or secondly, they'll talk about the case, talk about the case, talk about the case, and point out things that's controversial, but they will never say he's innocent. They will never say not guilty, acquittal. And I'm telling you, I look, pull up later. Pull up when I'm live later, about this afternoon, early this afternoon, like 4:00, 3:30. I'm gonna put the link in the chat because right now it's too late. But I want y'all to hop on and we can review any video that you want, any video of your choice, any video that you believe supports the case in Carmelo's favor. And I'm talking about a respected person, not just any old internet clown and cloud chosen race basis. Anybody respectful, and we're gonna listen to what they say and don't say. And I don't believe they're gonna say Buddy is innocent based on the facts, because again, you have self-defense with ordinary defense, and you got self-defense with imminent deadly force. And like you said, you move it from the park to the lunchroom, and nobody in their right mind is going to sit here and say Carmelo's justified. Anybody justified. Hey man, get out of our lunch space. This is for the bros only. Oh yeah, well I ain't leaving. And you shove them, and then they delete you. Also, secondly, think about this. People go the for those who go the he was almost 100 pounds heavier. Then you ask them, okay, so was he in you? So at the time under their tent, do you believe he was in fear of his life, where he felt like I gotta defend my life? Because that's what self-defense is. When you use deadly force, you believe it could be your last day on earth, right? So you got to say, okay, then he must have feared for his life because the guy was so much taller and he weighed more. Okay, so if you're in fear for someone like that, and the danger is asking you to leave over and over and over, and if you're truly fearful, you're gonna sit right there and say, "Touch me and I'll sue," like some Don King shit. Like no, like if you so you got the arguments are not consistent. If you really are in fear because he's just so much bigger, but they ask you 10 to 15 times to leave, and you're not leaving, that's not evidence of fear. Well, yeah, that's just not evidence of fear. Not in my mind. All right. Evidence of fear would be saying something that expresses fear or leaving. So that's just something to think about. I'll be back live 3:30 ish to talk about this and other things. We just ain't stuck in this all day. We will talk about some delineation, right? Back to the drawing board. So tap in a little later, family. Peace, B1, B1.